This is WION's continuous coverage on the Israel-Gaza war as it spills over into the fourth day of strikes and counterstrikes. Close to 100 hours have passed since the unprecedented conflict broke out. 1,000 people have lost their lives in Israel and over 700 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the strikes in Gaza is just the beginning, while Hamas has threatened to kill Israeli hostages if attacks on Gaza continue. Just moments ago, Israeli airstrikes set ablaze a slew of boats in the waters of Gaza territory. Clouds of thick black smoke could be seen emanating from the coastline. The attacks come in the wake of Israel declaring a complete siege of the Gaza Strip. On the other hand, sirens were heard in Israel's coastal city of Ashkelon. This as Hamas fired a fresh barrage of missiles from Gaza, signaling an end to a deadline that the Hamas had threatened the city's residents with. The Palestinian group had warned of major rocket attacks. Hamas says it is in response to Israel displacing the Palestinian people. Hamas has called for a general mobilization on Friday. The Palestinian militant group has called upon people from Arab and Muslim worlds. Hamas says the day will be marked as the Friday of the Al-Aqsa storm. Today, Hamas also called on young Palestinians in the occupied West Bank to confront Israeli soldiers. This region sits in the Eastern Front. It is home to about 3 million Palestinians. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has called for a humanitarian corridor to be established into and out of the Gaza Strip. The body claims that 200,000 people have been displaced within Gaza Strip.
International humanitarian law is clear. The obligation to take constant care to spare the civilian population and civilian objects remains applicable throughout the attacks.
However, Israel has continued to relentlessly pound not just residential areas in Gaza, but also the Egypt-Gaza border. The Rafah crossing is a focal point that allowed transportation of humanitarian aid from Egypt. Now, air raids have forced trucks of supplies to turn back from the border, leaving Palestinians scrambling for basic necessities. Meanwhile, in the face of the ongoing war, Iran has called for an emergency meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. This as Iran has also issued a statement refuting its role in the assault by Hamas on Israel.
پیشنهاد وزیر امور خارجه مبنی بر برگزاری نشست فوق‌العاده وزرای خارجه سازمان همکاری اسلامی مطرح شد. دولت‌های غربی مشخصاً رژیم آمریکا و تعداد مشخصی از دولت‌های اروپایی همچنان از جنگ روانی و تبلیغاتی سنگین خودشون علیه ملت فلسطین دارن استفاده میکنن که این بار هم ظالم رو در جایگاه مظلوم قرار بدن.
Just for a quick recap for our viewers, the fighting started on Saturday, October the 7th. Hamas launched ground, air and sea attacks in southern Israel. Israel launched retaliatory airstrikes across Gaza, formally declaring a total war. Well, our correspondent Jody Cohen has been covering the Israel war for us very closely from Ground Zero, and she has sent us this report.
I'm at one of the many blood drives that are taking place across the country, and thousands of people have been going to these blood drives today. Many have been turned away because they're just too busy. Now, this afternoon, we've 3 times gone to the shelters because of rocket fire from Hamas in Gaza, in central Israel. There have been more rocket attacks in southern Israel, and 2 foreign workers have been killed and 1 is seriously injured. We've also heard of further atrocities. Kfar Aza, which is a kibbutz near Gaza, the fighting ended there this morning, and it's been discovered that 70 civilians were killed there, including 40 babies, some of whom were decapitated, and an IDF officer has said it's not a war or a battlefield, it's a massacre. Now, 4 families from the US have called on President Biden to get involved in the hostage release. And Hamas has said that it will film the execution of hostages for any Israeli strike carried out without prior warning. And Hamas has said that it won't talk about a prisoner hostage exchange before the end of the war. This is Jodie Cohen for WION, World as One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.